So in the past couple of exercises, I've mentioned that you can solve two equations and two unknowns using your calculator. And I'm sure you've wondered, how do you do that? So what I'm going to do in this video is explain how you use a Texas Instruments calculator to solve two equations and two unknowns. Now the key to this process is to get organized. Here are my two equations and two unknowns. You may recognize these. These were from an original, one of the other example problems. And I know the answers to these. What I do is I organize my variables. These are all the FA multiples in this column. These are all the FC multiples in this column. This column on the other side of the equal sign has constants. Okay. And my goal is to turn this into this matrix. 1, 0, 0, 1, FA, and FC. And you do this by something called the reduced row echelon format. Now notice I'm looking for two equations and two unknowns, but I have a matrix that I have to build that has two rows and three columns. And what a reduced row echelon format does is it multiplies each row by certain numbers. You can multiply everything in this by the same number and you'll get the same result. And then add rows to other rows, but the goal is to get these two numbers to be 1 and 1 and 0 and 0, and then your answers will end up over here. And the way this works is if I just slide this set of variables down here, FC will end up on the bottom and FA will end up right above it. So your first column will end up in this first row and your second column will end up in the second row. Okay. That's not as important except to make sure you know where the answer is going to be. So let's proceed and I'll show you how it's done. Okay, first I turn on my TI-83. Your TI-84, TI-89 may have buttons in the different places, but the process is exactly the same. So the first thing I have to do, I press second key, and this calculator has matrix functions on that second key. I'm going to make matrix A 2 by 3, 2 rows by 3 columns. So I move over to edit, I press enter. Now the default for any matrix is a 1 by 1, that's just one number. So I'm going to change this to 2, move my arrow key to hit the second, hit 3, press enter, and now I have a 2 by 3 matrix. At this point I enter my numbers into each location in the matrix. That's the numbers from right here. Starting with a negative, make sure you carry that negative sign. Negative, and use the change sign key, not the subtract key. Okay, again, minus cosine 50, enter, and you'll see it calculates the number. Then a cosine of 25, cosine 25, it's positive, enter. And then on the far right I have 0, so that's no change. And then I move back and I begin my second row. Sine 50, you have to be careful that you don't make a mistake with these, obviously. Sine of 25, enter. And now I enter this constant in the lower right hand corner, enter. And at this point, quit matrices for a minute. Okay, a second. Now I hit second, matrix again, and you'll see that my A matrix is a 2 by 3. The good news is you can leave that 2 by 3 alone and you never have to create another one. The next time you do this with a different problem, that 2 by 3 sits there, you just change those numbers the same way I just did using the edit function. So the second thing to do now is actually perform the reduced row echelon on matrix A. So I move over to math in my second column and move on down until I get to RREF. And I hit enter, and it wants to know what to do a reduced row echelon, which matrix to operate on. So what I'm going to do is press second matrix again, hit enter on matrix A. Don't just try to type in A, it will not work. Close that bracket, enter, and there we go. That's my answer. This is FA, the first column. This is FC. So if you look at these, I immediately see FA equals 1876.55. I rounded that up to 1877 pounds, and FC is 1330.9, so 1331 pounds. And those were the same two answers that I got earlier. So again, if you've organized your two equations and two unknowns, this is a very easy way to solve a problem.